Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hey, and welcome to the MotUS Edge. We are back for another exciting episode. Today is a special episode. Why is it special? Because it's just me and Cole today. Super exciting.
The dynamic duo. I'm so excited. Just me and you, kid. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Cole has this thing in his brain where I'm like 10 or 12 years younger than him, y'all. I'm like 2 years younger than him.
That's because I think I age 2 years for your every 1 year. I'm like in Cole years.
Yeah, well, clearly that's what you think because yes.
That's how I feel.
Well, so today we're going to talk a little bit about learning and growing and why it's so important. So what are your thoughts, Cole?
Well, I think, it's kind of cliche, but I think you got to constantly evolve and constantly learn. One thing that's constant is change. And I think in business specifically, a lot of people kind of get stuck in a rut. It happens to larger companies all the time. And I think it's an advantage that smaller companies have, over larger companies, that they can make decisions and move and change and adapt and learn and grow more quickly. But I see that a lot is in some of our own premier gyms, you go in the facility and you see, this certain thing that's happening that's been going on like that for the last 20 years. Like, hey, why are y'all doing it this way? It's like, oh, it's just because we've always done it. It's like that way. It's like, just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean that's necessarily the correct way.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think, I don't know. I'm addicted to learning. I feel I think that I would be a perpetual student if I could be. Like, if I could make money going to college every day, all day, and just learning all kinds of different things, I think I would love to do that. I thrive on learning. But I personally feel like, if you're not learning, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. I think part of it for me too, personally, is just this innate, feeling of settling for second best. If you're not learning the new thing or what's coming next, or I don't know, the new invention or the new innovation or whatever the case may be, then you're kind of, I don't know, you're going to get left behind in my brain. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's how I feel.
No, and I feel that from you. And as everybody knows who listens to the podcast, is that Stacy's constantly pushing us, forward into the future. What's next? What's next with technology? Which I really appreciate. It's not really my expertise, I guess, but I do take the time to learn. One of the examples that I'll use is my son loves to cook, my son Maddox, and he loves to tinker with his RC cars. And he's always just taken the time to learn how to do it. And it's pretty cool. He's got this RC car that he's had for probably 5 years. And it doesn't even resemble anything like what he started with. He's rebuilt it. He's bought new parts. It's basically, maybe the frame is the original car. And that thing goes like 80 miles an hour. But to take time to learn how things work, he'll sit down and watch YouTube. And he'll watch YouTube videos for maybe 2-3 hours to figure out how to do it, and that's one thing that Stacy always kind of jokes, with our team is that, hey, Stacy, we call her tech support around the office. But, she takes the time to watch the video. She'll always say, well, I don't know how to freaking do it either, but I'll watch the video and I'll figure it out.
It's a crazy time in our world where you can literally search up anything on the computer at any time of day, and 99.9 times out of 100, you're going to find the answer to the question that you're looking for if you take the time to figure it out and read it or learn or watch or whatever. And for somebody like myself who's kind of addicted to learning, that's like the coolest thing ever. Back in the day when we were kids growing up, you had to go to the library and find it in an encyclopedia or a book, or search through the microfiche, like the film. Have you ever done that back in the day?
Yes, I have.
And so, you don't have to do any of that anymore. It's just like, gosh, here's a perfect example. This is terrible. I'm so ashamed to admit this, but my husband was cooking out on the grill the other day. I was actually at my computer and I was writing one of my books, and I was in the middle of a sentence and I needed to finish my sentence. And he comes out and he's very calm. He's like, "Hey babe, I need your help for just a second." And I was like, "All right, I'll be right there. Let me just finish the sentence." And he's like, "No, I kind of need your help like right now, if that's okay." And I'm like, "All right, let me finish this sentence." I finish my sentence. I go out back and there is a fire like 3 feet high coming out of the grill. And he's
awesome.
like, do you know what we use to put out a grease fire? He's like, "I know it's not water."
Yeah.
And I was like, I think flour should work, baby. We don't have a fire extinguisher, which problem solved. I went out the next day and got a fire extinguisher. But I was like, maybe it's flour. So we get the flour, we throw the flour on it. Whoo, the flames get even bigger. Like Chris is like, "I don't think it's flour." And I'm like, "I don't know." I get my phone, I Google in 3 seconds. Baking soda, in case anybody wants to know.
There you go.
Baking soda is what will put out a grease fire. I've always used flour in the oven, but I guess that's not a grease fire technically. I don't know.
I've never had a fire in my oven. I've definitely had grease fires on my grill.
Well, sadly, I'm such a fabulous cook that I have absolutely caught the oven on fire. And I've used flour. So anyway, Google it's great to learn.
How did Chris get to the point where he had a grease fire of that size?
I honestly don't know. He was cooking steak kebabs on the grill. It wasn't anything crazy that you would think would be. I think the grill probably hasn't been cleaned, if I'm being honest, and it's old. So we got a fire extinguisher and we're gonna get a new grill this weekend because it kind of made a mess, and we're just gonna be done with that. We just don't want to have another fire again. Luckily, my husband was able to get the tank, the propane tank turned off and disconnected, thank goodness, and move it away from the grill while I was trying to figure out like what we could use to put the fire out. And another little fun fact. So this is totally random and off the topic of learning, but while this is how colonized conversations go, guys. We start with like something important and then we end up nowhere, even in the realm of the same conversation. This is pretty much on a daily basis. And then we have to circle back to what the important thing was we were talking about. But anyway, one of my other things that I have to do, like I have like a backstash of everything. So like if there's ketchup in the fridge, there's ketchup outside. If there's, plastic bags in the house, I always have to have the backup. And so we're never running out of anything. And I get picked on by my children and my husband sometimes about always having to have the backup. And I get mad at them when they take the backup and they don't tell me, so I can't replace it. And then we're out of something. And luckily we had backup baking soda, because if we didn't,
oh, wow. Boom.
If we didn't have enough. That's how big this fire was. We did not have enough baking soda to put the fire out. And Chris dumped it all on there. We got it about half out and he threw the container and was like, "Do we have another one?" I was like, "I don't know. Let me go check."
That's great.
So
speaking of backups, I was traveling a couple of weeks ago down to Fort Lauderdale, doing a site visit for our end of the season event. And the person that picked me up from the airport, so they lost my bag, so I had a quick connection in Atlanta.
Oh, I didn't know that. What a bummer.
It didn't get off to a great start. But I decided to check a bag because of all my toiletries. I didn't think I had like the right size stuff, and I just didn't want to mess with it in my carry-on. So it's like, all right, whatever, I'll just throw everything in there, pack a bag. But he had a really good idea that I had not heard of before. But what he does, he just keeps a whole separate travel carry-on bag with all his toothpaste, toothbrush, whatever you put in there, shaving cream, a razor, all the stuff. He just keeps a completely separate one and he never unpacks it. So I think I might start doing that. That's a little, travell tip. Because like all of us, a lot of us in this industry, we travel quite a bit. I feel for the last 6 months, I feel like I've lived out of a suitcase, and it's finally caught up to me. I'm a little bit sick. I got a little bit of strep throat, but that was a new thing that I hadn't heard that I learned. See, I'm circling it back. It's a new thing that I learned just last week.
I like that. Perfect. I love that. I think that a lot of times, especially as you get older, you get more set in your ways and you don't want to learn because it's uncomfortable. I think that's kind of a common feeling. It is uncomfortable, I think. And you feel like maybe you should know. A lot of times people are afraid to ask because they feel like they should know. And so they don't want to ask questions, or they don't want to ask for help, or they don't want to ask somebody to teach them. And I think that, we need to all be uncomfortable. We need to all get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that is how you learn and grow. And I don't know. I think learning and growing is important, and being willing to change. I mean, I am definitely not the same person I was 10 years ago and 10 years before that. And I know a lot more. I've experienced a lot more, but I feel like I've changed the way I do things in certain aspects, because I've learned that, this is a better way to do this. I didn't know that 10 years ago, so I did it like this. But to be open to those changes and challenges. I know that's difficult for you, Cole Stott.
Yes, it is. No, I feel like I hope I'm flexible and trying new things in a different direction with all of the businesses we're involved in.
I will tell everybody, Cole, I will give you shout out, because I remember it was a couple of years ago. I've told you this before, but I got really frustrated one day, and I was like, I don't know how to do all this either, but I figure it out. You need to figure it out too.
Yeah. And I started,
and
I tried.
You have.
It just takes me a little bit. It takes me a little bit longer. One of the things that I always, ask our own coaches to do, but I think in the industry, is because of AccuScore, which there's good and bad things about it. Is I think people think in their mind what they should have already scored before the routine even goes. They think they know what their score is going to be. But I'm constantly amazed by standing back there and being on the judges stand so often and not really being involved in the judging, but hearing the conversations, how many times the coaches aren't really informed and really truly understand the score sheet and really know, what should be in the routine. So if there's anything that I could, really press upon, coaches in the industry, is really dive into the score sheet, really become a master of your trade, because ultimately that's what you're doing, and continue to learn, seek out, different experts, talk to judges, talk to successful coaches, and really, become, a master of your trade, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think beyond the score sheet as well, as coaches and owners, we are a leader of people, right? And we are trying to get the best out of the people that we're working with. And I know on the podcast with Callie, we talked a lot about psychology. And so I think leadership, mentorship, learning how to understand different personalities and how to manage different personalities, and learning how to appreciate different personalities. Those are all great skills to learn as coaches and as owners, managing your staff and that kind of thing. It's so important. I think you instantly respect people who are like-minded and are similar to you, because you connect with them, because that's easy, and they make sense to you because that's how you are, right? But there's a whole lot of people out there in the world that function and maneuver differently than you. And the sooner that you can learn that and appreciate that and understand that, the better off that you will be. And I know that, I was somebody that I didn't, to me, there was a way to get from A to B. When I was young, I was fresh out of Jersey. I was feisty. And I was like, this is the path from A to B. And if you are not on that path from A to B, and you're, there is no other way to go, this is the way. And I didn't want to hear it. And I learned, I feel like at a very early age, that wasn't always the case. That there's a lot of different ways to get from A to B, and it's okay, and to respect and appreciate. And then I feel like my 30s, so I spent my late 20s, I feel like learning that. And then I feel like I spent my 30s kind of sitting back and watching and observing and learning from other people and seeing how other people did things. And, that actually was pretty smart. I wouldn't have done it that way. I didn't see it that way. Yeah. And I really learned to appreciate and understand other people's brains, how they work, their personalities, what makes them tick. And then I think I've spent most of my 40s asking why. Everything's why. Why do we do it this way? Why do we do it that way? I feel like, Cole, you ask me things all the time. And I'm like, well, I don't know. What are you trying to accomplish? You want me to answer your question, I answer questions a lot of times. I think that's the best way to phrase it. I answer questions a lot of times with questions, right? It's like, well, I don't know. Why do we want to do that? Why does that make sense? What do you think is the best way to go about that? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that those are all learning things. And I learned a lot of that through different conferences. I like to go to all the industry conferences. I think I've been fortunate to have you in my life my whole career. And so I don't always pay attention to every single nuance that's going on in the sport like you do, but I feel like you do that, so I don't have to. And then you just point me. Like,
yes. I think that's what makes us a really good team.
Here.
And then you go. You take the ball.
Yes, I do.
Yes. So speaking of conferences, we've got our business conference coming up in Nashville, which I'm super excited about. What is it? September 28th
through the 30th. Yes, the MotUS Business, the MotUS Business Conference, MotUS Business Expo, actually, which is pretty awesome. Before we get into all the nitty gritty and the details of that, though, I think that it's awesome to explore conferences outside of the industry, leadership conferences, marketing conferences, technology conferences. I went to an amazing technology conference in New York one time. It was back in 2018. It was one of my favorite conferences that I went to. I actually got to listen to Mark Zuckerberg's sister spoke. Yeah. And she was so down to earth and so smart and really you could tell was really proud of her brother, but also really held a burden for what they had created together and where the future of all of that was going. And you could tell that she felt this like immense responsibility for that and the unintended consequences. We've all experienced unintended consequences of our choices in life for sure. But anyway, I think experiencing and going and doing different things like that is also really important. So conferences are the best, I think, to learn and grow. I love conferences.
And I think go to as many as you can, even within the cheer, dance, gymnastics world, go to all of them and hear all different sides and then, take the pieces that work best for you.
Agree 100%. The Prime Alliance and the Prime All-Star Finale is a new part of MotUS that I'm super excited to talk about. So the Prime Alliance is a group of event producers that have joined MotUS because they want to support MotUS's mission and they believe in the gyms and want to be part of growing the industry and keeping kids at the front of every decision that they make. So the Prime Alliance got together as a group of MotUS member event producers, and the members are the CX brands. We have All Out Brands, Choice Events, All Day Cheerleading, American Spirit Championships, and World Cheer Company. Did I miss anybody?
I think that's it. More to come.
Yes, and we recently decided to host a new event in Fort Lauderdale. That's why Cole was down there without his bag and didn't have his fancy little travel kit. And so super exciting about our new annual event for gyms to wrap up their season. Just a different celebration for programs. And it's going to be really awesome. We're super excited about it. If you guys want to check out and learn more about the Prime Alliance, you can go to our website at theprimealliance.com. That's ThePrimeAlliance.com, theprimealliance.com.
Wow, that was a tough one. I'm glad I did not have to spell that.
Cole doesn't like to do any of the commercials, guys. So Kevin and myself and Casey have to do them all. Speaking of Cole not liking to do commercials, he also does not like to do dad jokes. However,
well, dad joke of the day, my first one. What kind of egg did the evil chicken lay?
I don't know.
Oh, man. A deviled egg. Which, fun fact about Stacy and I, we love deviled eggs. I love them. I love them. Every time we're out at a lunch meeting and they have deviled eggs on the menu, we get them for an appetizer.
We do. And now you know. You didn't know. You didn't know prior to today.
Yeah.
And now you know that little fun fact. Cole and I have known each other for 25 years, I think. It's a long time. It's a long time.
Yes, it's been a minute.
Okay, so finding great places to grow as a professional. So
Well, I'll start with that one.
Yeah,
Sorry to
you're
cut you
good.
off. It's like for me, I feel like I've been really fortunate to always have mentors in my life and people to look up to, going all the way back to my dad, my grandfather, and going through college. I've specifically had, two professors that were really, I just connected with, that I really appreciated what they said. To our preacher at church, just I would sit and listen to him for 2-3 hours, just talk about, whatever he's talking about. It doesn't have to be necessarily, religious. I would listen to him forever. But, early on, starting off, Carl Glass, who was my direct supervisor, when we were first part of varsity, and he was he's still alive, but he's an older gentleman. He worked in Conagra in the frozen food business, traveled the world, and just was a wealth of knowledge, and really taught me a lot of things. Before that, I had Mike Martinez, Wood Potter, Lynn Youngs, Brian Allen, just on and on and on. So for me, I feel like the main way I've grown professionally is by learning from people. I've learned a ton from Stacy. I've learned patience from Stacy and being open. Like
that's surprising to me because I don't feel like I'm a very patient person.
But being open to outside opinions and valuing that, hey, this person might be, have different ideas and a different route to get to where we're trying to go, but at least be open to it and explore it, So it's, for me, it's really been all about people. And that's what I've learned. And that's how I feel like I've grown professionally.
I would agree with that sentiment as well. I mean, I've had a lot of great people, a lot of those same people that you mentioned, I feel like were a part of my, life as well because of the Premier connection. And I would totally agree with that. A lot of other folks as well. But I have always been somebody that has sought additional, knowledge. And I think I think a lot of it just started out as kind of a younger person, like craving outside new ideas, different perspectives, whatever. And I would go places, to different conferences, cheer conferences or otherwise. And I always took a ton of notes, and it kind of became my mission to see like, okay, what can I take from this and implement into what I'm doing? And I think that's where a lot of people fail, is they get all the great ideas and then they come home and it's back to the same old thing. But I think for me, over the years, it's become a challenge to see like, okay, what can I take and use and actually make better? What can I pull out of this little, bucket of stuff I learned this weekend and actually make my business better? And some things I use and some things I don't use, and some things work great and some things don't.
Yeah. And that's okay. And I think people shouldn't be afraid of fail.
I agree.
You learn just as much from your failures.
It's the reason why one of my favorite things every year now is the MotUS Business Expo, the conference that you mentioned earlier. I, enjoy putting that on because I get just as much out of it, I feel like, as the members that come and participate. I get excited to learn and listen to all the speakers and take notes and, and also be around everybody, which I think is really cool too. The networking and the conversations and the people that you meet, like that's all part of the experience too, I think.
Agreed. And we say it, in our close, little group is Premier Athletics. Obviously, we've been around for, 25 years now. And I feel like we've had our ups and downs and, overall been, fortunately, pretty successful. But Premier right now today is stronger than it's ever been. And I feel like that is because of our partnership with Casey and Stingrays. We've learned a lot from them. I feel like they've learned a lot from us. And then with Kevin and Charlotte, I feel like Charlotte is better by being partnered with Premier and Stingrays and, all around the circle. But you scale that out to the 200 plus gyms that are MotUS members. And I feel like we're stronger than we've ever been. And I hope that everyone else feels the same way. That's part of our community of gyms that's really, truly working together. But the MotUS Business Conference is the one time a year that everybody can come in, everyone can share ideas. And I'm a big proponent of just the side conversations. We'll have amazing presenters. My fear is last year was so good. It's going to be hard to match up to that, but I think we'll do it. But it was just, I mean, it was literally not just because it was our conference. It was the best conference I've ever been to. But I love like just the one-on-one conversations, and you may learn something, just with unintentionally, get a little tip on how they do something back at their own business.
I think one of the things that's really cool about it, two things actually. I mean, aside from the speakers are amazing, and that's what you're coming to the conference. That's not the only thing, I guess, but that's you're coming to hear speakers and go take classes and that kind of thing. That's a given. But I think two of my favorite things are listening to the gym owners. I think the one thing that's really special is, it's important to go as a gym owner and take coaches and do conferences with your staff and that kind of thing. But this is for just gym owners and directors. And I don't think that the owners take enough time to go and educate just themselves and be immersed with people, with other owners just themselves, where they don't have to worry about their staff. Yeah. They don't have to take care of their staff or cater to their staff, or, just all of the things that go along with taking 10 or 12 or 15 other people with you. And so I really appreciate that. I think that they get the opportunity. I like watching them all kind of feel this like special moment, and they get to have the opportunity to talk with other owners and network and just be themselves and not have to worry about anything else for the day and a half or whatever that they're there, which I think is pretty cool. And then the vendors, the affiliate members that come, we don't do a vendor booth area or a mall or a shopping center. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, spirit center. Yeah. We just, they take the classes too, because they're business and leadership and mentor, they're classes to benefit everyone. And so, the affiliate members come and sit and hang out with the gym owners, and they learn from the speakers just as much as everybody else. And I don't know. I think that's a really cool, different aspect of the conference. It's one of my favorite things. And of course, hanging out with everybody, and eating, and I love to eat afterwards.
And this year we're doing a big special party. We're doing a book launch for the Pioneers of All Stars that Stacy's been working on a year and a half.
I've been working on the book, not the party, but yes, a year and a half.
Yes, I've been working on the party for a year. You've been working on the book for a year and a half. And she keeps joking. It's like, what? You're planning like the party of the century. We got Beyonce.
Yeah, it gets bigger. It gets bigger and crazier every time I talk to Cole. Hey, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to do that. I wanted to just have like a tiny little, celebration, and it's turned into this big, gigantic, massive thing.
But for our MotUS members, the conference is free to all of our members, which are also invited to the book launch party, which is going to be pretty cool. We're doing it at the Country Musicians Hall of Fame, which is pretty awesome. We're doing a red carpet entrance. We're live streaming the event. Have some really cool speakers lined up, some special performances. It's going to really, truly be an amazing night. I feel like it's not been since probably the early 2000s that this many industry leaders, pioneers have all been in the same room at the same time. And the closest thing I'm pointing back to is the early days of the USASF conference. I think it's literally been that long since this diverse group has been under one roof. Hopefully, there's no bad feelings. So everyone who's coming, check your feelings at the door. If there's some, bad history in between.
I think that we all have something in.
Leave that.
I think we all have something in common, which is that we love All Star. We love the sport. We love the athletes, and we're all doing it for the kids. And so I think it's great that everybody can come together and remember that and celebrate that. And it's gonna be pretty cool. The book has definitely been massive undertaking, and we're going to do a whole special episode dedicated to it so you guys can learn all about it. I am a bit of a monster. I feel like certain times when I'm trying to get everything finished, don't talk to me, don't text me, don't email me, don't communicate with me.
I don't know how you
I need to get this done. But anyway, it's been great. The conference this year is going to be awesome. For our members out there listening, make sure you sign up. We do have limited space. It is included in your membership. So don't miss this amazing opportunity to network, learn, and grow. We have some awesome, phenomenal speakers, and we have multiple working sessions, which you guys all asked for. So this year we have sessions where you guys can, leave with a finished product, hopefully, and some, materials. So anyway, looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. All right. So with that, let's wrap it up with our quote. So our quote today is, kind of in line with what we've been talking about. The goal is to not be perfect by the end. The goal is to be better today.
I love that. I would use that. Immediately what jumps out is golf to me. It's a game that can never be really, truly won. And each time you play, you can only improve on your last time. A lot of times for me, I don't.
I was just going to say, is that really true though? I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of times I go backwards. But yeah, that's perfect. It's like I feel like, perfection is an unattainable goal. And if that's your goal, is to be perfect, then gosh, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, I agree. I love the concept of just be better today, basically, than yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes along with the whole learning and growing, and everybody should be striving to just be better today. Even if it's 1% better today than you were yesterday, then, you're getting better and better and better. You're aging like a fine wine, if you will. Yes. So I love that one. I thought that was a fitting quote for today. Well, so thank you guys so much for hopping on and listening to the MotUS Edge podcast today. Be sure to follow us on YouTube at the MotUS Edge. That's also where we will be live streaming the book launch party for the Pioneers of All-Star Cheer. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS, and give us a like wherever you listen to your podcast. If you like what you're doing and you want to hear more, let us know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're excited for you to have the MotUS Edge. Bye, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Guys.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.